Hello and welcome to my unboxing and first look at the Citadel Saw. It's right here. It will cost you £18. There are little hacksaws that you can get from Amazon for like £2.50 and so on, but I like the Citadel tools, and this has a number of different saws on it. I do question the usefulness of it because it seems like it's all handle and not much saw, but when you look at the back, it does have a whopper of a saw then, and another one. It's quite odd that they don't advertise these two, they just advertise the small one. You'd think they'd advertise the big one, but maybe it would be too big of a picture and they wanted to get the picture of that as much as possible. But yeah, that just looks like a rod rather than a saw. But hey, you know, probably why I don't run Games Workshop. Let's unbox this. So yeah, quite pricey for £18. I do have a saw at the moment, but it's a larger, and it's still a Citadel saw that I use for resin models, but I wanted something a little bit smaller to get into the awkward places rather than this big saw that I've got. Here it is. So here is the rod itself, metal rod. I think you just turn that around to open it, and then here are the different blades. Oh, okay. So I'm guessing it can use any blades that you get from any shop right now, if you can get into a shop, that is. So you get two of each. That's quite nice. Not one of each. Well, it says two of each on the back, but yeah. So you get two smaller blades. If we just better to look at it at the back on my fingers. Look. So it looks like the teeth are smaller on this one, and the teeth are larger on the blade at the back. Yeah, lovely. And then you get these two right here. Again, I think it's the same story. These teeth look smaller, and these ones here look a little bit larger. And then finally you get these two, and again similar sort of story with those. Lovely. So I've got my little saw now. I can hack away with my resin models from Forge World. Let me just put this one in. Yeah, my OCD will be playing havoc if I don't sort of tighten it up that way. So you can unscrew that, which is just the rod. Okay, so what you can do is you will be able to put one of these blades in like so, and then once it's set in, you can then twist this holding the blade still, and that tightens the grip, and then there you go. That's your saw. It's a little bit bendy, but no doubt you can get attachments at your local hobby store that are a bit more sort of solid, but it will do the job. I wouldn't go crazy and start cutting massive chunks of resin gates off of Titans and things, but you know, for Dreadnoughts and maybe Cerastus Knights and some of the super heavies, you know, this will be an excellent tool. And then for the smaller units, the character models and things, you can always use this if you don't want to risk clipping the gates off, which can sometimes take part away with it, and then there's a whole kind of repair operation that you're going to have to get yourself into. Okay, so riding off the back of the feedback from the last video, and while I was editing, I actually realised that I never demonstrated the clippers in action, so I do apologise. I'm kind of inputting it into this into the saw review video rather than in another unboxing or review, because this is a tool review, and it kind of makes sense to put it in a another tool review video. So these are the clippers. I've used them quite a lot now. People have said that it's tricky to get in places because they're kind of, you know, sprung open already. That does wear down over time, so you get them to about that point. I think that spring does become less tight, which is perfectly fine. What I do is I don't have them like that and go obviously go into the sprue. I squeeze them a little bit to get the right gap that's required for said piece. So then I just go in there and typically either clip very close to the part or right on top of it. So there's a bolt gun there, so just like so. And you know, once you've kind of clipped thousands and thousands of little bits of plastic off of a sprue, you kind of get used to it. So as you can see, it's very sort of seamless, doesn't take hardly any effort. It's precise as well, and yeah, I totally agree. I should have demonstrated this in the review, but you know, they just work really well. You'd expect them to. So there you go, that's like a little demonstration. I really recommend them. So jumping off of that demonstration, let's have a demonstration of the saw. I've only put this blade set on here. Here is a part from Forge World. This is mainly what you're going to be using the saw for Forge World parts. There's no need to use the saw at all for any Games Workshop models. The saw itself will be specifically used for sawing off these rods that connect to the gates of Forge World pieces. This is what you get with Forge World. You don't get the pieces all on a sprue that you just have to clip out. You get, look at this huge chunk of resin. It is a bit of a waste. I've always thought that. When I built the Warlord Titan, I had well over, I think 1.5 to 2 kilograms of spare resin, and I phoned Forge World up and yeah, they won't take it. You can't send it to them, or you know, it can't be reused, and it is a huge waste. But nevertheless, I would always suggest sawing these rods off rather than clipping, because clipping them puts pressure on the clippers, and you don't want that. You end up breaking your clippers, or clipping actually part of the piece itself off with the rod, and that's, yeah, they're two outcomes which are not favourable to your hobby experience. So what I would normally do is, well, I would choose either this saw or the larger one with the handle, and then I would typically saw closer to the gate itself. I don't really want to do this because I'm inside. It's going to create a lot of mess. So I'll only saw like one rod, but you want to go backwards first, and to get your guide, and then you want to just give it a good little, and it works surprisingly well. Important not to hold that bit, but to hold the rod, because then you're minimizing the movement of that. The last thing you want is this moving a lot, and again, breaking away from the piece and taking a bit of the piece with it. So once you've sawed all of those rods off, then you've got this big chunk off of the piece. Then it's getting into the fine detail of sawing the rods off closer to the piece. I'm only going to do this now for an example, but typically you want to take this whole chunk off. So this is just for the example of just me sawing the rod off the piece. There you go. And yeah, always saw or sand these resin miniatures, these resin pieces. Look at all that dust, and that's just the dust you can see. There's probably a bit more floating about. You want to be doing it either in a well ventilated area, biggest room you can find, outside, or wearing a mask, because you don't want to get that stuff inside you, and it will find its way inside. So there you go, that's my little example of the way it works. Really nice, actually. Good little action. It's a good small head, so you can get in those hard to reach crevices and places, and you know, it will be a vital tool in your resin miniature adventure. Okay, on with the rest of the review. That's the little saw. Very impressed. It is quite pricey, but yeah, I'm impressed with it. What do you guys think? And have you had any experience with this Citadel Saw? Please do put it in the comments below. It'd be great to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.